Disney Animated Studios is back with a new film, and it is coming to theaters. Yes. Folks, let's jump into the review of the new film, Strange World. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new film, Strange World, which is coming to theaters November 23rd. Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on theaters here because, yes, recently there have been new Disney animated films straight to Disney Plus, and which is fine. I get it, the reach, the comfortability, the accessibility for folks to be in the comfortability of their home and watch a film on Disney Plus. But I have to direct my attention to the folks that make these films happen. The animators, the whole craft team, the production team, everybody, the actors, all of that. They truly put their work in to have this seen on the biggest and best screens available. That's all these big and major theaters all over the world. So when they do get kind of snubbed and it goes straight to Disney Plus, it is kind of deflating to them. They put all this work for it to be in the major leagues. You know, they don't want to play in the minors. And listen, this is no shade to Disney Plus, but when you do all of this work, you want it to be seen on the biggest and best possible. And so it's a good sigh of relief to see this in theaters. Again, there had been some previous animated films that had went straight to Disney Plus that I just could not agree with that release, but I get it. The pandemic was a crazy time and you had to kind of do what was best, lucrative and financially, whatever it may be. And so thus it had to go to Disney Plus. But yeah, Strange World comes to theaters November 23rd. And you know, my first reaction to this film was that, wow, I had a lot more fun than I thought I would. The cast is fantastic. So you look at that and that sort of gets you in the door. But you know, this is a new story, and with it being a new story, you kind of are optimistic as to what will Disney do this time. And we know everything Disney does is always granular. You know, there's always going to be something to merchandise from within the film, which they have a really funny joke with that in this. And obviously, you know, it's to set things up going forward, which this film definitely leaves a lot of potential on the table to tell more story beyond this. But yeah, I had a lot more fun than I expected. Definitely laughed. I actually got to see this in the theater where there were families, so like the kids seemed like they were enjoying it. Some of the adults looked like they were enjoying it as well too. I feel like the adults laughed at certain jokes while the kids laughed at others. So like, you know, with that being said, this seems like there's fun for everybody. But yeah, I certainly had a lot more fun than I was expecting to have. But yeah, let's take a look at the cast here. You have Jake Gyllenhaal, who plays Searcher Clade. His father Jaeger is voiced by Dennis Quaid. Quaid and Clade. Yes, kind of a tongue twister there. Dennis Quaid plays Jaeger Clade, and this Jaboukie Young White, who is my guy. He plays the 16-year-old son Ethan, who Jaboukie's been killing it, like in voice acting on screen. He's really getting it in. I just recently became a fan of his by his work on the show Fairfax, which is an adult animated film, adult animated series. So yes, don't watch this and think you're going to get the same type of character in that. Not at all. And then Gabrielle Union plays Meriden Clade, the wife of Jake Gyllenhaal's character Searcher. And then Lucy Liu plays Castillo, who is also a part of this team as well too. So like, listen to the names: Lucy Liu, Gabrielle Union, Dennis Quaid, Jake Gyllenhaal, Jaboukie Young White. I mean, that alone is like, yeah, I need to check that out. But overall, this was a fun adventure that had a very it had a message that's really going to be towards its particular audience, because truly this is about Searcher and Jaeger, father-son relationship and the challenges of that. A lot of it has to do with learning how to compromise, learning how to listen. I mean, it almost becomes like a therapy session between the two of them. But it's also funny because when you bring in the grandson and he actually sort of becomes the best of both of them, but yet can notice that his father who almost at times resents his father, which is his grandfather, is really just like him. And like, you know, we've heard these stories before where folks are like, you know, they may not have the best of relationships, but they are actually really very similar to one another. Because listen, Searcher, and the way how this all came about is that Searcher and Yeager had a team, and Yeager has this really larger than life persona that, you know, he is an explorer, and, you know, he has these adventures and he discovers things, and, you know, it's truly driven by that hunger to want to get his next big discovery. And when it came down to one journey that the two of them were having together, there has seemed to be a disagreement in how they wanted to pursue the end of this journey. It was either to go to the other side of this mountain, or hey, I think we have something right here, maybe we should take this and go back. And this happens to be around this plant. It's like this plant, it's almost they look like grapes, but they have like energy. So this now is like, it's really game changer. I mean, they even said in today, this is like, this discovery really helped shape this town to be like the utopia of today. It's all energy ran on this fruit, essentially, that just gives endless potential. I mean, they use it for everything, but because of this disagreement between Searcher and Yeager, they went their own way, and they had not seen each other for 25 years. It was a fallout that big. So yeah, Searcher goes on with his life. He done helped really change this entire town. He done got married. He gets a kid. And when the plant, when there happens to be a discovery that the plant is dying, that sends them now on an adventure to figure out the cause of this, which ends up having him recross paths with his dad. And now his son is with him. And so, yeah, you got this little change of like philosophy here, a little change of hierarchy here, because now Ethan has to decide who he wants to be. Does he want to be a farmer? Does he want to be an explorer like his grandfather? And, you know, this now creates, you know, tension amongst the three of them, you know, because, you know, the grandfather, the larger than life character, wants to influence his grandson to be like him, and then the father Searcher wants Ethan to be like him, and then they're getting mad at each other because of how they're trying to raise and all these sorts of different things. But yeah, Pando is this fruit that's basically like, again, a green grape with energy in it, and you can use it for everything. And because Pando is now dying, which is now going to be problematic with how this town is being ran, it must solve the mystery of why Pando is dying, which sends them to this new world, which sends them running into their grandfather and so on. So yeah, but anyway, like I said, it has a lot to do with compromise, and with all of that, it does become funny. It is witty. There's a lot of good banter amongst the characters here. So like, it's a fun adventure. But like, yeah, if you are a parent, or anybody who has a dad, you know, you will see like certain conventions within this film that you're like, yeah, that's kind of very similar to how like me and my dad riffed off of each other, or me and my son riff off of each other, or how my son and his grandfather, my dad, how they riffed off of each other. You get all those sorts of different things in here as well too. I will say, and I haven't quite checked this yet, but there is a particular scene in this that there's a joke that I do not think is very tasteful at all. And it's somewhere near the end of the film, and it has about a character trying to storm the pilot room. And I just was just like, that one didn't land. And while it was supposed to be sort of a comedic moment, I felt like the audience felt the same way, because it did not cause even any bit of a giggle within the crowd. And I haven't checked it, because like the ethnicity of this character and the joke, the character is clearly a person of color, but like the fact that like they kind of like tried to storm a piloting room, a cockpit. And yeah, it's just a joke I just thought was kind of in bad taste. Like I really didn't think it worked or was needed. But also this film is super diverse. I mean, Ethan is an open gay character that is not at all like a big, like, he's gay, let's make it a big deal. Like Ethan is also trying to navigate coming out of his shell and not coming out of his shell with his sexuality, but coming out of his shell because he's an introvert. He's a farmer. He's the son of a farmer, and he really likes his other boy, and he's trying to figure out how to build the courage to do so. And when he meets his grandfather for the first time, who he had never met, 16 years old, his grandfather's like, yeah, you know, if you want to impress a guy, this is what you got to do. I thought it was really cool that they were able to really like embed that within the film without it being like a big thing. Like, hey, he's gay, let's like celebrate all this other stuff. Nah, it wasn't anything like that at all. And honestly, what's really cool about that too, is that this is the first openly gay teenager character in anything Disney. And I really thought that like how they handled this was in good taste. You know, it doesn't become a attraction. It just is this character's way of life, which is fine. That's how it should be. Very normalized. So I do appreciate that. But yeah, I laughed a lot more than I thought I would. A lot of lessons in fatherhood and resilience. And Strange World is basically a comic. So like with this kind of being a comic, that leads for other editions and other stories to be told and whatnot. I thought the score was fantastic too. Sort of like a modern Star Wars, a modern Skywalker saga score from Star Wars, you know, because I ain't gonna say the Star Wars because a lot of the new Star Wars stuff is doing a lot of new things, but like when you talk about the Skywalker saga, it feels like it's like paying homage to that with his own new twist and whatnot, which is cool. But yeah, I love the score. And let's just talk about the Disney merchandising thing. It's this little alien looking creature thing called Splat. Splat is going to be on shelves everywhere, and they even made a joke about merchandising stuff in this, and I was like, yeah, they know what they're doing. There's always one of those type of characters in it. So, but yeah, check out Strange World. Again, I didn't have a problem with it. You know, this film didn't like push the needle in terms of like the animation or doing anything that we really haven't seen before. It's all good. It's Disney. Of course, the production is going to be good, but it didn't do anything that I noticed that was like very like, oh, this is like game changing. You know, this is revolutionary. You know, it's very much on par from what you expect from a Disney film in terms of its animation and whatnot. The voice acting was great. Again, the story was really is really about father-son relationships and understanding the compromise with some humor in it, a little bit of wit in it, and just good banter amongst all of the characters, you know. So, but yeah, check it out. Jump in the comments, folks. Let me know your thoughts about it, and as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon. Big old bell.